right now, I think draft-wise, it shows their flexibility, and I think they've got a lot more they can do.
Let's see what they're going to do next. We are heading into Game 2, and it's going to take place on Infernal Shrines, chosen by probably Team 12. Yes, LFM picking first pick. And you talk about Dansky and Kier, and I remember when Kier joined Team Freedom at the midway point of last year, and when he started, that's around when people were really playing a lot of Genji, right? He was making a splash at the mid-season brawl. It started, and Kier was the Genji player for Team Freedom. And then as things progressed, Kier stuck more within his melee role. And then Dansky started making plays. And at first, when Dred and I were casting it, we were like, man, it's hard to not have Kier on Genji. He's just such an awesome Genji player. And then suddenly it was like, oh, Dansky is kind of ridiculous as a Genji player. Dansky ended up being the most improved player voted for HGC last year, and that's within all of the regions. So that just goes to show what a phenomenal pickup not only Kier, but Dansky was for Team 12.
Justifiably so, and again, I speak volumes about this. If you look at every single championship team that we've had, especially in the last 2 years, the key components revolve around having that strong tank, the support. They kind of hit all the check marks in terms of what you want, the flexibility on the backline. Gilly, this combination actually really reminds me. I talk about Goku, Wubby kind of comparison, but that backside reminds me of Quacknick's Schwempy on the Fnatic heyday, where they were so comfortable on either one, they could mix it up, and they were both outstanding players. And it just, because of that flexibility, allowed that team to exceed even some of their expectations.
Yeah, I remember when the announcement came in that they picked up Dansky and Kier, and I was like, wait a second, they have Goku and Justin and Buds and Kier and Dansky? Are you kidding me with this roster? And then the other rosters, of course, came in, and they were exciting too. So many of the NA rosters have just been so exciting. Even just watching this weekend, the plays, the work that's gone into this weekend, I can't wait to see how this part and this phase progresses for NA HGC, because it feels pretty good so far.
So far, so good. And again, all respect to the world to LFM, but Team 12 is expected to 3-0. If they don't, that's a statement for both teams. And I think Team 12 definitely wants to make sure that they don't stumble right out of the gates. They want to get the victory, and they're off to a good start.
You've talked to some of LFM quite a bit, I'm sure. How do you think they're approaching this series? Is it just a, we're going to do our best, get some practice in, versus what might be the best team in our league and hope for a game win, but if nothing else, just use this as practice within the league structure?
Yeah, and sometimes it's a matter of like, all right, look, we know we're against the big boys. We know that we're not going to be able to necessarily say, oh, we're coming out of the gates, we're going to prove a point, we're taking over the #1 spot. It's just not going to happen, right? It's not realistic. But the way Kier said it, getting past that mental block, getting the nerves out of the way, you now have faced the top.
Yes.
Now you can move on and face somebody that your odds are going to be a little bit more in favor. So I think that's going to be a big part of it. I'll probably message Figgy here in a couple days. Ignition. It's so weird to call him Figgy, but I'll message him like, you know, talk to me a little bit, see how it's going. So getting a beat and getting a pulse for this team. You know, 2 games first weekend. It's an initiation phase. So.
A double weekend for your first weekend in HGC. Heroes Hearth fared a little bit better in that regard, but then again, they had to play against Tempo Storm, so they still had a difficult run of that. LFM goes back to their first pick Greymane. Team 12, last game had the Johanna Tychus. We're looking at Infernal Shrines. This was a place before where you might get that Diablo-Medivh combo.
Yeah, you know, most teams in this rotation are probably likely looking at Lucio ETZ, but Team 12, they can break the standards of a meta and make it look just as effective, if not more effective, while still also falling back on the same laurels that other people run. ETC, and we're going to see Sonya picked up there. A little bit higher priority on Sonya than we've seen all weekend. So letting that Lucio through, maybe they're just not as high on Lucio.
Butts was playing him at GCWC.
But we've got Stukov, who's making a great showing this weekend. Alex Straza we haven't seen today, but
Stukov was picked up in this rotation in the last game for LFM. If they want to make sure that they have the same kind of disengage, it's Infernal Shrines. So there's a lot of good choke points for your lurking arm.
Yeah, and interrupting the whirlwind on Sonya is always so valuable. Sonya lives forever when you don't have an interrupt for that whirlwind. This is also a great map for her to get into those choke points, and lurking arm can be a good response to that. So We'll see if they highly prioritize it. There's still a lot of good options regardless. Again, with Lucio not being picked up, they might look for it themselves. And if we really want to get crazy... Okay, it's not going to get that crazy.
Johanna Lucio. Switching it up. I would have said they could have possibly just gone right back into the Murden and Stukov they did before, but they're going to switch it up, get Johanna this time, and then get the Lucio. What were you going to say? What was going to be crazy?
I mean, it solely relies on many, many months ago. Infernal Shrines was kind of a maybe sort of Cho'Gall.
Are you going to do the Cho'Gall again?
Look, it's going to happen at some point in this phase, and it's probably going to be LFM. I'm not sure if I agree that it fits this meta, but it might happen.
We've already played basketball with Asmodunk.
Show me your
Maybe
best,
we need
show
to do
me your
like
best jump.
batters up with the Hammer of Twilight.
That's not upheaval.
That's true. What is that? That's not as good of a sports reference. Upheaval. See?
Speaking of,
I was making the analogy.
Speaking of dropping bombs and shooting baskets, and whatever it is, Chromie from downtown, not gonna happen.
Not today.
So, Wolf, when we were back at BlizzCon, we made the reference because he said a linebacker and then blocking, and it was a really funny moment. And we were talking about dunking. He like tried to dunk on me outside, like we were going to dinner one night, and literally jumped to try and dunk on me. I really feel bad for Wolf and his sports references. We're gonna get you up to speed though.
Dunk on you? He
literally jumped on me, 2 hands, and he's like, dunked on you. We were talking about Asmund Anderson. I don't know. Wolf, this is the same guy that said playing a linebacker blocking, and you're like, Wolf, linebackers don't block.
I like Heroes of the Storm in video games, so let's go back to that one. We've got bans on Mathiel and Chromie. I honestly don't know what a little linebacker does either, Wolf, so... Jaina's here to help, and Stukov.
I'm here to help. Lots of Jaina. No Gul'dan, no Kel'Thas, which we would see generally as better on most battlegrounds, but we talk about ETC setting up the power side. You get the lurking arm right under, potentially roots later, and then you've got Jaina who has easy targets to follow up on that. So there's a lot of combo potential here for Team 12 to just kind of annihilate any target. Johanna, great counter because of the Iron Skin, which again, Stukov does really well to make sure that doesn't go out. So ETC could have some juicy targets there on the front line with Johanna alone.
Yeah, Lucio can also try to help speed away, get out of the slows, but Jaina used to be an old school combo with Sonya, because if you get the big slows on a lot of the members of the team, Sonya just gets into the back line, gets into whatever line, starts whirlwinding, she's got a ton of damage, goes into Wrath of the Berserker. We're going to get a Gul'dan for LFM, and they'll take the Leoric.
I dig it. I just wonder what build we'll see, whether it will be the Q build or E build. Sometimes against that heavy front line, you'll go into that Echoed Corruption build, but Q build playing a little bit safer against this style composition is something we will see on Infernal Shrines. Love the Leo pickup as well. It gives you a lot of frontline control. Post level 13 Leoric against that style of Sonya, Jaina. You get caught in any of those combos, Leo can really be effective in that and get to that backline. The problem I see, Gilly, is running with the Greymane and a Johanna Gul'dan is that their engagement tools are a little bit soft in terms of trying to get to that backline, which means they're going to have to try and bust through the front line, which is no easy task when you've got ETC and Sonya up there.
Final pick for Team 12, is it another Tychus?
I would not be surprised.
Yeah, with Johanna, Leo on the front line. Get in those minigun attacks. The slows of Jaina and body blocks of ETC Sonya, letting Tychus just do his thing. It'll be Falstad instead. Falstad is not
what I expected.
No, not something that has been huge for Team 12 in the past. Not like Galeforce Esports, right? In their pick.
You know, this is the last time I remember seeing a Falstad be so incredibly effective was actually at BlizzCon. Do you remember when Rich played Falstad and he would just fly over the other side? And we're talking about pre-level 10. Would fly over to the enemy side of the team into a bush and just start annihilating the backline of something like that. Maybe even late game, get that gust in. Rich was making the most crazy plays on Falstad, and it just seems like there's no way that anybody plays like this, but Rich is like, I can do it. Maybe they picked up something from that.
Yeah, that would be pretty fun to watch, seeing if he can get off the side. Even if they decide to go for the wombo combo of like a Mighty Gust into, say, the Lurking Arm. You've got ETC there to follow that up. You've got Sonya, and you've got Jaina, who is a pretty effective wombo combo follower. Don't forget, friends, that Team 12 might not be with Glaurung anymore, but I'm sure that they could still try to execute a fun, old-fashioned wombo combo. Let's see if it works out for them. We're going into Game 2 between LFM Esports and Team 12. Wouldn't that be fun? Flighty Gus into a Ring of Frost.
Was that the happy dance waiting for that right before we got in there? Looking for it. We'll see what Goku can do this time around on Sonya. Quite a bit different style than we would get from Leoric. See what he can go with.
Seasoned Marksman, the choice for Falstad. And it'll be a Fellflame build for the Gul'dan. Is that what you expected?
Yeah, I think it's a much safer option. Because of the threat of Sonya and ETC on that front line, sometimes it can be enticing to go into that Echoed Corruption build, but this gives you more control over the Shrine, especially when you're going to Johanna style. You get more value out of it. You get that extra range on it. It keeps you safer. It plays more around the objective, and I think right now, LFM against this style composition, if they were a little bit more practiced, a little bit more well-versed in HGC, maybe different, but I like the little bit safer pickup. It's still effective. It's hard to call it safer. It can just be more effective on Shrines,
right,
objectively.
You're getting that immediate ability to damage instead of trying to rely off of the poisons, which can be tough to deal with, but Team 12 do have the nice sustain of Stukov. And then, of course, you've got Sonya, who will be taking care of herself later on. Team 12 keeping an eye on things as LFM go for the very standard rotations between mid-bot, whereas Team 12, they have Sonya in the bot lane, they have Falstad in the top. Falstad gets even better at being able to solo once he gets Boomerang at 7. So with this setup, they sort of have this tri-lane that can clear out mid quickly and then go maybe take a mercenary camp, maybe show up and try to get a pick somewhere. Because with ETC, Stukov, and Jaina, you've got a lot of lockdown within that triple hero setup and then damage early on from Dansky's Jaina.
Good corruption there from T as they come in. Soft invade. Here's Cure with an aggressive fly, and like we wondered what happened. Nice knockback there from Justine to keep him locked in the Blizzard. That is kind of what I expected, but Cure literally wound up in the middle. He's like, I better barrel roll out of here. Still got the kill.
That was evil. Just everything. He flies in, he's got them. They put the Blizzard down, then you've got the power slide. You start to walk away. Nope, you're going to take another hit of that Blizzard. That was pretty mean. Not the nicest of welcomes from Team 12 to LFM, but now that they've given them the old safety game 1, it's time to get serious.
Yeah, and that's really what I wondered. Against a team like this, sometimes you practice a little bit, maybe things that you feel you can get away with, and then kind of spread your wings, make it easier to do against some other teams. That type of aggressive fly-in probably doesn't happen against some of the top-tier teams. You're a little bit more hesitant to try and be that aggressive. But spread your wings, young fella. Go on in, Cure.
Keep them coming. That's all we're saying. We like what we see. Change up at level 4 for Lucio. You see all sorts of things at this tier for Lucio, but getting Chase the base will increase that arc by 50% and range by 20% of Soundwave once he finishes the quest, and that helps if you're going to be concerned with Mosh Pit and want to stay further back, don't want to accidentally wall ride or scoop your way on into the Mosh, but still want to have the interrupt. Will help with that. You just don't have the cooldown reduction that you get from off the wall.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely a good use, but you got to finish it. We'll see how far along he gets, especially around these Shrine phases, which are now active. Both teams do have their respective Shaman camps captured in the top. However, the Global is on the side of Team 12. We'll see when Cure decides to fly down.
Team 12, just with 1 kill and their rotations, are getting an experience advantage that should set them up for 7 faster if they can take advantage of that. Before they bring in the Global, that would be key. Power slide on through as Goku goes back in. Gets Johanna to use Iron Skin off that Figgy. And 18 skeletal defenders to the 7 of LFM at Team 12. Doing really well in this first Shrine phase.
Yeah, T is also getting stacks in the middle of this, which is helping. We see the fly-in. Here's the aggressive fly-in. It's going to be on the other side of the wall. The lurking arm's going to go down. The blizzard as well. Figgy just able to get the iron skin, but Cure trying to get the kill. The counter kill comes in from Draded, however. Cure got a little bit too greedy.
Oh man, Figgy had that condemn out, and as the barrel roll wanted to come in from Falstad, because of that, he got pulled in. The stun from that went back around. Draded took him down, but now LFM is in danger. They lose their Johanna. Knockback though from the boot from the Aware. Goku wants to shark around from the side. The Punisher still claimed by Team 12, but man, LFM are trying to bring the fight to this team.
Ooh, they're bringing it, but Goku's bringing it right back as they get another kill there on the backside. Both the frontliners go down, but they did do a good job baiting this Punisher over. Not gonna lose hardly anything structure-wise. That's one tower down. Maybe a second at the back end of this with a Blizzard and some minions, and that's it. LFM holding, but Gilly, looking at the experience, they still find themselves a level down.
Yeah, this early in the game, it just looks like just a level, but the snowball potential is real, especially when you're looking at the skill differential between these teams. Team 12 just doing what they do best on Infernal Shrines, pushing everywhere they can, making things difficult for their opponents, looking to get those level 10s. Man, I hope it is the wombo combos.
I'm actually a bit surprised. This is something we don't see that often from Gul'dan players, is the level 7. Every time you hit a hero with your Fel Flame, it reduces the cooldown of your Corruption. Going into that extended range at level 1 does help you hit more heroes. You have 2 primary targets between ETC and Sonya. But getting that cooldown reduction, there's a reason why a lot of people don't go this. It's something that I've kind of theorized and hypothesized about on how effective could it be. It really requires you to sustain in team fights, and so far the team fights have been pretty quick. We'll see if he can hold in those spots and really try and get some of that corruption there on the front line.
Yeah, a lot of times when you see that talent, it's when you're going into the corruption build, and even that has phased out a lot. If you're focusing on having echoed corruption with the ruinous afflictions that you can guarantee, or at least better guarantee, that you get the 3 stacks for the increased damage, then the cooldown reduction makes a lot of sense. But even that has started to fade out in favor of having the hunger for power. But hunger for power does come at a cost, and that is reduced healing from teammates. Maybe he just does not even want to deal with the idea of that. Feels like they have enough damage in general and does not want to contend with reduced healing from his team.
We got ourselves a Ring of Frost. We might have a gust into it. Get the big combo going. We'll see how that plays out. Is level 10 getting close here for LFM? See if they have something in return. I'm sure the Horrify will have pretty big emphasis in a lot of these team fights.
It's not mosh pit either, it's stage dive. So once Team 12 gets the setup, you're not going anywhere, LFM. You got stage dive slows, Ring of Frost, flailing swipe if needed, maybe a flanking flailing swipe from that. It's destruction is on the menu for LFM, and they get their heroic abilities too.
I think it's fortunate for LFM because by the time this next shrine spawns, I don't think 13 will be here for Team 12, so it keeps them, yeah, we're 30 seconds away. It'll keep them into the fight. It's up to LFM. They can win it, win the Punisher, and try and get out. But the top shrine is probably the most competitive one because you don't have the same exit points. It forces a team fight, so we're likely to get a full 5-on-5 here. If it doesn't go well for LFM, Team 12 might start to snowball.
No, it is really important that if the setup is Cure flying in, LFM can take advantage of that. Hit him with a really fast Horrify, the Blessed Shield too. They're already going after Cure if they can, forcing him back. He's far away from this shrine, but so too are Draded and the Aware. Shrine starting. Team 12 has the jump on the position, also has the jump in getting the defenders until Figgy's going to push Goku away.
We now have LFM approaching here. Both the globals, mid and bottom for Team 12, looking to come in. Normally you'll see Falstad mid, ETC bottom, since ETC is a true global. And LFM, or excuse me, oh, that's an amazing Horrify.
So much damage taken even before the Horrify. All they had to do was just pull the trigger and take out Sonya before the stage dive could come in. Falstad's just going to free push now. At this point, they've done a lot of damage to that bottom lane as it is. They have 12 to the 19, probably going to have to give up this Punisher. LFM has really good clear from this, and it's 9 seconds until Sonya is even on the battlefield. But since everyone from LFM was committed to the top, Team 12 just change up the battle plan and just try to take out this fort.
And right there is a learning moment for LFM. They got the kill on Sonya. Falstad was still bottom. They were slow to rotate down. And in the competitive scene, very rarely, and I mean very rarely, will you ever see a team like Team 12 re-engage. LFM needed to be quicker on their rotation down to the middle lane to maximize every inch of that kill that they just got. They were slow on the rotation. I think they might have given up a little bit of experience, but that's a learning moment that they'll have to come from. And speaking of learning, T is learning how bad Sonya hurts and getting rooted from that lurking arm.
Sonya just 1v4'd and was victorious against that Gul'dan, and now will be okay to help the rest of the team with the Punisher. Only one tower taken out by LFM with that push. And Team 12, the quickness of decision-making of Team 12 was phenomenal, keeping Falstad in the bottom lane. Also, we talked about this. LFM probably coming in is going to want to rely more on team fights. It's something that Even in Death did, and it's hard to keep up with the macro game, the rotations, how swift they are from a team like Team 12. And they did do that. They won the fight, they got the kill, they got the Punisher, but Team 12 still pulled out ahead of that.
Still have that level and a half lead. Figgy uses that blessed shield, but that lockdown, they've got to fight on the backside though. Bud's with the flailing arm. The Horrify's only going to catch one, and Cure making plays while we've got a Ring of Frost, locking in 2 members. Gilly, that's 4 kills for Team 12.
It's only the Aware left. And it looks like Team 12 are just fine with letting the Aware go back and tell everyone what has transpired this day. You could speed on out. We're going to take your structures. We'll take the next fort away from you. And with this 2-level lead, Team 12 looking dominant to take a quick 2-0 in the series. Well on their way to the 3-0 that we said they needed to have to show their dominance.
And this is where newer teams coming in, how well versed are you in the catch-up mechanics? Because we saw earlier Galeforce, when they were down, they went to the top lane, they pushed in that top lane to get some experience to get back in the game. But then we saw the counter push where they took the bottom keep wall and opened up a win condition. The same thing can happen here. LFM has to find ways, the camps and things like that, they're gonna have to get a pick, but they need to try and find a way to get a kill, or they need to push in some structures. And right now, this is their opportunity.
And Team 12 recognized that. They wanted to send everyone up to the top to pick up that final fort so that wherever the next shrine's going to be bottom, but wherever future shrines are, they ensure that it's not going to have to go through a fort. And they keep Falstad on the bottom, get the camp that slows down LFM from pushing on the opposite side of the map from that. All LFM can really do is get the couple of Khazra camp in the middle, but because they are not willing to fight versus Team 12, and Team 12 are rotating together pretty safely, even ETC watching Falstad push, it's a difficult place for LFM to get that comeback experience.
Yeah, that's what I want to emphasize right there, is that they got the camps and they did nothing with them.
Yeah.
They've got Justine locked in here. We might have another fight on our hand, but that's what I'm saying. You would have been far more, I guess, inclined to take structures. There was a tower that was dangerously low bottom. You could have pushed in knowing they were top. Instead, they got the camps. That is minimal experience. You gain nothing out of it. You find yourself 2.5 levels down. That is the difference between an experienced team and an inexperienced team. An experienced team will never prioritize that. They will prioritize clearing the minions and then pushing on that, getting the structure value, because that's where the real experience comes in.
They're going to need more experience for this game, especially to get to 16. And in that time, Team 12 will be able to not only get a good head start on this Punisher, really just get it in the way that LFM are invading. They do know there's just one camp up, and Team 12 were very split. But because of how fast they rotated, they get the Shaman camp, and they're getting this Punisher. So everything is just coming up aces for Team 12.
Yeah, all they had to do was take that tower and then come in and take fort, ignore that. That gives them 16 and keeps them in the game. Instead, they're about 10 to 15 seconds slow by trying to get that invade. That means Jaina, we can actually see on the minimap, Jaina and Stukov are just going to go push in, soften this up, and make room for that Punisher. ETC's actually going to go in and disrupt the backing there. That's the thing. He's doing all the right things. This is a Team 12 clinic against a team that is in the growing pains process.
Yeah, and remember that ETC has stage dive, so he's always able to come in from this once Johanna either backs or once he knows that they can get the advantage. And in fact, that advantage has been found. He stage dives in, gets caught by an Entomb so he can't go in after T. Brilliant Entomb from Swabs, but still this keep is under fire.
It's under fire. It's going to fall, and Team 12 might look to do more with it. 16 was picked up for LFM, but this Punisher still at 60%. Might be able to get on this core if they can get a kill. See if they can go in.
Oh, man, that Punisher, the silence after it, too, was dirty from Team 12 and the Punisher. Ring of Frost went down 2 kills for Team 12. They're looking for more.
Yeah, they're looking for more. I think they're going to get it, although Falstad did end up falling. That's still 3 members down on LFM. And again, Gilly, had LFM done a few things different over those last few minutes, we might be looking at a game continuing to go. But this is where an incredibly experienced team in Team 12 knows their win conditions, opens them up, everything from Justine's play on the top to making sure to disrupt that backing, to everything the minute you recognize that. LFM a few steps behind. Definitely some stellar play on the side of Team 12, but LFM, they can go back, watch the replay, try and learn along the way, because that was a lesson, and it's a tough lesson too, but it's one that they can grow from.
Yeah, they have a lot of lessons to be learned, but they were doing a lot of really good things too, especially when it came to the team fights. Punishments for people staying too long, the way they were able to punish Goku up on the top shrine, force Team 12 to make other adjustments and just push down a fort instead. They had some punishments on Goku's Leoric as well. It's just that it was a Leoric, and they stayed for a little too long after that in Game 1. And even finding where Falstad was flying in, these are things that teams might be able to take advantage of versus Team 12 and how they were playing. But LFM, hit or miss or whether they're able to actually execute those punishments, but they're doing their best.
They're doing their best, and again, it's opening week, and you're going to learn things along the way. You're going to be able to look at teams across the world, essentially, with HGC, the way we have it set up. Korea, EU, NA are all being broadcast. China pretty soon as well. So you're going to be able to see these things, pick up on things that some of these teams are doing. Look at your scrims, look at what other people are doing, and learn that. But Team 12 doing exactly what we expected them to do. No surprise, they executed. Little hiccups along the way. I think it might just be a little bit of comfort on theirs. Maybe
confidence.
A little bit too confident there from Kira on that one, but it's looking good so far for them.
We are headed to a commercial break. After the break, the series continues. Stick with us.